What's up, guys? This is Jesse with Stick to Your Guns, and you're watching Soundlink TV.
And if I can learn from what I've done, the pain I felt has been for nothing, all for nothing.
This is Trent with Soundlink TV here at Carolina Rebellion with Jesse from Stick to Your Guns. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good.
I like your little style right here with the glasses and the shirt and all that.
Thank you very much. I got my Charlie Brown shoes. I probably can't pick them up on there, but
I think right now people are calling those the Post Malone shoes because of the colors and all that.
So, oh, really? That's what they're calling them. Well,
yeah.
All right. Who am I to say?
Yeah. So like we were just talking. We're in North Carolina. It's really hot today. You're wearing this long sleeve and all that. So I guess on tour you just never know.
Well, yeah, that, and I'm a dumb motherfucker. So.
Yeah, something I like to talk to bands about before we get into the actual stuff is like, between the club tours and the festival tours, how does your band personally adjust to figuring out what songs to play and adjusting to the weather, the crowds, and all that stuff?
Man, that's a great question. I feel like if we're playing a club tour, especially one that's more centered around, normally if Stick to Your Guns plays a club tour, we assume that most of the people who are coming out have a general understanding of who we are and what we do, so we can play a bit more of an eclectic set list, I guess, that covers more ground, whereas at a festival we try to play the bangers, whatever that may be. I think that's pretty much it as far as that.
Okay, so not only do you guys play festivals, you guys have been on Warped Tour before and all that stuff, but this is Carolina Rebellion. There's like radio rock bands here,
right.
The radio bands, but you guys are a little bit, well, not a little bit, way heavier than that and stuff.
Right.
So like, how do you bring your element to try to pull these crowds in who may just be in it for like the radio bands and stuff, who might be walking by and stuff? Like, how do you guys try to rein in those guys?
Right. I think that you're not going to please everybody. That's as everyone knows. But I think that we are a bit of a high energy band, and I think that whether or not you like our band, I think you might at least enjoy watching the spectacle. We're running around, jumping around, doing all sorts of wild shit. So I think that that alone can maybe reel somebody in. We're like, it's maybe a little bit too rough around the edges for me, but I thought they would put on a good live show. And then sometimes we get people like that, also a lot of sometimes people, they come up to me and say that they like what I say in between songs or whatever, and that connects with them or whatever. But you never really know. When I was younger, there was a lot of bands I listened to on record that I didn't like, and then I would go see them live, and they completely changed my mind. So that's definitely something that could happen. I don't know if that's necessarily the goal for us. It's great if it happens, but we just like to be the most authentic us we can be, and if someone connects with it, then cool, and if not,
are you guys
care less.
You guys are shocked coming to these radio festivals and seeing like the number of people that do watch you guys? Like,
heavy? For sure, absolutely. Yeah. The only one we've done so far was Welcome to Rockville in Jacksonville, and we're definitely a little bit surprised of the turnout that we had, and also I was surprised by the amount of people who actually knew our songs. So,
okay,
I don't know. I think after being a band for about 13 or 14 years, it still blows my mind that we go places and people know who we are. So
no, you mentioned something earlier about talking between songs and stuff like that, which you can do on the bigger tours and all that, but like on a festival you may not have that much time and stuff. So you're very vocal about homophobia, racism, all that stuff going on in the world right now from stage. And so how do you try to put that into a I guess a shorter Cliff Notes version of it for a festival, whereas like on tour you can say maybe like 2-3 minutes between songs or something like that.
Right, I can elaborate on tour, and on these festivals I definitely can't, because then you're just eating up into song time. And also, honestly, there's obviously I don't really like to call our band a political band. I like to call us we like to speak on social issues. And sometimes those social issues involve politicians. And there's obviously certain parts of the country that you can go to and you can kind of gauge on which way this area leans. But it's important to me for people to understand. It's like I don't, and I say this on stage every day. I don't think we identify too strongly with who is right and left or Democrat or Republican or whatever it is, and I just think that it's important for everyone, especially in this country, to understand that we belong to a system that was built to take advantage of everyone, regardless of who it is you vote for. And I think that we need to kind of come to that middle ground and that understanding first before we've done the whole like, you voted for crooked Hillary, fuck you, oh fuck Trump, and back and forth, and it's just this cyclical thing that keeps going around and around and around, and so someone's got to kind of come in and be like, all right, let's have a different conversation Otherwise, this is just going to keep spinning until it spins out of control, and then there's going to be chaos.
Yeah.
And we're getting there right now. I mean, look at the news in the last 2 years. It's been fucking nuts everywhere, all over the country, and it's upsetting. And it's honestly, especially with a band like us who tours overseas a lot, it's embarrassing. You know what I mean? It really is. We are the laughing stock of the world. And that's just a fact. That's not my opinion. That's not anything else. It's what's happening. Everyone is laughing at us, and for good reason, I think. And so I think that there needs to be, in this music and heavy music, the social issues and the political issues, at least from the scene I grew up in, and the music always went hand in hand. And at a festival like this, it's who wants to have a good time? Raise your glasses, and that's cool too. I'm not trying to take value away from that. That's awesome. Like, a lot of people here, they have fucking kids, they fucking work all the time, and this is their time to come out, fucking get drunk, and just not think about anything. And I can get behind that. You know what I mean? And I can understand that. But yeah, it's a little bit different from where I'm coming from. So I'm learning how to pivot and learning how to maybe speak to those people in a way that we can connect, and then they can maybe do a little bit digging of their own, but find out what we're about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Now you mentioned you guys aren't necessarily a political band, but you're a social band and stuff. And so, like, I guess your record came out last year and stuff. So I'm assuming you guys are pretty much writing some new stuff, coming up for maybe next year, maybe. So, like, how do you guys make stuff that's not so time sensitive, where it's like, oh, Donald Trump's president, write about this, or this guy did this, or we're going to write about that. So how do you do something that's going to be like a long-lasting, impactful record without putting it necessarily a timestamp on 2018, 2017, or whatever?
Can I say something to you?
Yeah.
You're a fantastic interviewer, and you
you.
ask wonderful questions.
Thank you.
Very thoughtful questions.
Thank you.
That's brilliantly put. It is a hard thing to do, and it's never something I want to do. I want to be able to put out songs where you can put them on later down the line and be like, okay, this still makes sense to our current climate. I don't necessarily want to say fuck this specific person or fuck this, you know what I mean? There are obviously problems that are happening now that were happening when my fucking parents were kids and they were worrying about who to vote for and things like that. So I think it's kind of recognizing what the root of the problem is and trying to start a conversation or offer another solution for somebody who thinks like, okay, we've all been given the illusion of choice, right?
Yeah.
And it's this and this, which is just crazy to me. Like, no one should ever have a choice between one thing and another thing, two things only. That's not a choice at all. That's an ultimatum. You know what I mean? And that's what I think is unfortunate. You know what I mean? It's like, and especially in a lot of these small towns, it's like, just in everything we think that, trying to decide where you're going to buy your batteries and condoms between Target and Walmart. That's not a choice either. You know what I mean? And it's like, I think we need to expand our horizons a little bit more and understand that there are a lot more options out there for everything, the way that we do anything, and not just taking the easy thing that's right in front of us. Because I think you'll end up feeling very unfulfilled and frustrated down the line,
Now, I mentioned, like you guys may be writing some stuff. I'm just assuming based on the 2-year cycle, next year is the year you guys might drop a record.
Yeah, of course.
So are you guys writing on some stuff, and what can fans expect from you guys, coming out from the rest of the year?
We're definitely just going to continue touring on this, but we definitely have some demos going, and I try to constantly write.
Mm-hmm.
The band is, I think, and the most successful bands in my opinion are the bands that when they're off tour, they still continue being in a band.
Yeah.
A lot of bands get into this thing where it's like, oh, we're on tour, and then we have a month off in between tours. I'm checking out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, the more work you put into it, the more your band, or you're going to get out of your band.
Yeah.
And so, I constantly try to write and try to because I have this method where I write something. I call it, it's an idea boat. I build this idea like it's a boat, and then I poke as many holes in it as possible. And if it still floats, then it's an idea that's worthy of building on.
Okay.
But if I poke a bunch of holes in it and it sinks, then it fucking sucks. Move on to the next thing. And so that takes time. And so definitely that's why I try to give myself as much time as possible to write and give myself breathing room. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All right, man. Well, thanks for talking to us today.
Of course, man. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I
no
appreciate
problem.
you. Yeah.
I'm Trenton with SoundlinkTV here with Jesse from Stick to Your Guns. Thank you, guys.
And if I can